Hello Eric, this is Tony. I'd like to do this little video and show you how I converted this unit that we both have to ink. Now as you can see, first off, that I replaced the large drum gear with the medium-sized one. That gives me a 60 millimeter a minute translation rate, which I think is the standard for observatory use. Here are the pens. Now this is the Gould pen. This is a chart recorder pen. The opening on this is slightly larger than the regular seismograph pen, and consequently it's a lot easier to keep clean and it doesn't clog so readily. So I prefer to use these. The only disadvantage is if you get a really strong movement, you can sometimes get a little splatter of ink coming off the end of it. But I don't mind that. Now here it is, the pens that we both have. The one that I've converted, put the chart recorder pen on with little dabs of epoxy, and they work pretty good. Here is the ink reservoir. It's a prescription pill bottle, and I have a little tube going into that. And I've got the temporary block there, a little drill bit, to keep the ink from clogging up. This is the holder. I made that from a disused bundt cake pan, and it just sits nicely on the pen motor. This slips into it. And now we can hook the pen up, and I'll show you how I prime it. Just slide the onto the end. Now this is the small. One thing I want to say is that you're planning, I think, on not using this holder and just having a length of capillary tubing going to one reservoir somewhere some distance away, and this will translate as the pen goes back. This tubing strikes me as being a little bit stiff for that. Maybe the I think it's polypropylene tubing that you get in the same size would be a bit more flexible and wouldn't interfere with the movement of the pen. I think this, as it goes over, might actually cause the pen to deflect slightly. So you might want to think about the thinner, the more flexible tubing for that. So this is the tubing that we use for the regular seismograph pen. It's the smaller diameter, and even at that it's a little bit too big to fit just tightly on the end of it. So what I've done is I've heated it in hot water, stretched it a bit, and then cooled it off in cold water, and that's reduced it enough that it can fit tightly over the end of the pen to prime it. What I used to do was I used to just put my mouth over the whole pen and just suck the ink out until I tasted ink. And ink is kind of like beer. It's an acquired taste. If we just suck on the end of this until we see some ink coming out. There, we've got it. A little bit of ink coming out. So the pen is now, slide that off with the pen, and we're getting our little trace there. See, it's not it's still a fairly fine trace for something that's as big as a chart recorder pen. And as I say, it's a lot easier to manage when you get a blockage, and that'll happen from time to time. So you just take a little bit of wire from a strand from a light electronics wire, press it into the tip, and just blow through with some warm water, and that cleans it out nicely.